The gunshot echoed through the valley like thunder, startling Aurora Zimmerman as she hurried back to her family's homestead, arms laden with supplies from the general store. She quickened her pace along the dusty trail, the setting sun of 1876 casting long shadows across the Wyoming Territory. The tension in Red Rock County had been building for weeks between cattle barons and small farmers like her father, but she never imagined it would come to violence so quickly. Aurora rounded the bend and froze. In the distance, flames engulfed the modest cabin her father had built with his own hands. Orange tongues of fire licked at the dry timber, sending plumes of black smoke spiraling into the twilight sky. She dropped her parcels and ran, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Pa, Ma!" She screamed, the heat intensifying as she approached. The crackling roar drowned her cries as she desperately circled the inferno, searching for any sign of her parents. A section of the roof collapsed with a deafening crash, sending a shower of embers skyward. Aurora spotted a figure slumped against the water trough behind the house. "Pa!" she cried, rushing to his side. Blood soaked his shirt where he'd been shot, his weathered face pale beneath his gray beard. "Run," he whispered, clutching her arm with surprising strength. "Caldwell's men. They'll be back." "Where's Ma?" Aurora demanded, tears streaming down her face. Her father's eyes drifted closed. "Gone to fetch you. At the store." Aurora's blood ran cold. Her mother had left to find her, which meant she was somewhere on the trail between town and home. Torn between staying with her wounded father and searching for her mother, Aurora made a desperate decision. "I'll be right back, Pa. Hold on." She ran toward the barn, which had been spared from the flames, hoping to saddle a horse. As she threw open the door, a wooden beam from the adjacent storage shed, weakened by fire, gave way. Aurora looked up just as it came crashing down. Searing pain exploded across her face and head, and then darkness claimed her. The pain woke her a throbbing ache that pulsed behind her closed eyelids. Aurora tried to open them but was met with more darkness. Panic seized her as she realized she couldn't see. She reached up to touch her face and felt bandages wrapped around her head. "Easy there, miss," came a deep voice from nearby. "You're safe now." Aurora tried to sit up, but firm hands gently pressed her back down. "Who are you? Where am I?" Her voice cracked with fear. "I can't see." "Name's Beau Vaughn," the voice replied. "You're in my cabin about 5 miles from your homestead. As for your sight." There was hesitation in his voice. "Doctor says the fire and falling timber did some damage. Burns around your eyes. He's not sure if it's permanent." Aurora's breath caught in her throat. "My father, I'm sorry, Miss Zimmerman, he didn't make it." Beau's voice was gentle but direct. "I found you both after I saw the smoke. Your pa was already gone, but you were still breathing under that beam." A sob tore from Aurora's throat. "And my mother. She was on the trail to town." Silence stretched for a moment. "Found a woman's body on the trail. Caldwell's men, most likely. I buried her proper, next to your pa on your family land." The world collapsed around Aurora. In one night, she had lost everything: her family, her home, and her sight. She curled onto her side, shaking with grief. Through her despair, she felt a rough, calloused hand tentatively touch her shoulder. "I know words don't help much," Beau said quietly, "but you're not alone. The Caldwells have pushed too many folks off their land, and they'll pay for what they've done." "What does it matter?" Aurora whispered, the darkness pressing in on her. "I've lost everything. I can't even see to take care of myself." "Then I'll be your eyes till you see again," Beau said with conviction. "And if your sight doesn't return, I'll be your eyes for as long as you need." Aurora didn't respond, lost in her grief, but somewhere in her shattered heart, his words took root. The next days passed in a haze of darkness and pain. Aurora learned that Beau was a cowboy who worked periodically for various ranches, but maintained his independence. He'd been riding back from a job when he saw the smoke from her homestead. "Dr. Winfield will be back in a few days to check your eyes," Beau explained as he helped her sit up in bed. "In the meantime, you should try to move around a bit, get your strength back." "What's the point?" Aurora asked bitterly. "I can't see to do anything." "Maybe not, but you can learn," Beau replied evenly. "My grandmother lost her sight when I was a boy. She still managed to cook the best biscuits in the territory and could tell which of her chickens was which just by the sound of their clucking." Despite herself, Aurora smiled faintly. "Was she born blind?" "No. Yellow fever took her sight when she was 40. Took my grandfather too, but she lived another 15 years, independent as a wild mustang." He took her hand and placed it on his forearm. "Come on, let's start with a tour of the cabin." Reluctantly, Aurora allowed him to guide her. The cabin was small but solidly built, with a main room that served as kitchen and living area, and a single bedroom where she'd been recuperating while Beau slept on a bedroll by the fireplace. He described everything in detail: the iron stove, the wooden table with 3 chairs, the shelves stocked with supplies, the window that faced east so the morning sun warmed the room. "Why are you helping me?" Aurora asked suddenly as they completed their circuit of the main room. "You don't know me." There was a pause before Beau answered. "My pa used to say there's only 2 kinds of people in this world: those who turn away from suffering and those who step toward it. I'm trying to be the second kind." In the days that followed, Beau helped Aurora learn to navigate the cabin. He placed a rope along the walls so she could follow it to different areas, and made sure everything important was kept in the same place. He talked constantly, describing the weather, the landscape, and the daily activities of the wildlife around the cabin. "There's a mother deer with 2 fawns drinking from the creek," he narrated one morning as they sat on the porch. "The little ones have spots that catch the sunlight like drops of gold. The leaves on the aspens are just starting to turn. The light breeze makes them shimmer like they are chattering to each other." Aurora closed her bandaged eyes and tried to picture it. "I used to love autumn," she said softly. "The colors, the smell of wood smoke, the way the air feels crisp in your lungs. It's all still there," Beau said. "You just have to experience it differently now." When Dr. Winfield returned, he carefully removed Aurora's bandages. She held her breath as the last layer came away, desperately hoping to see light, shapes, anything. But only darkness greeted her. "The burns have healed well," the doctor said, his tone professionally neutral. "But there is significant damage to your eyes themselves. Will I ever see again?" Aurora asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't say for certain," Dr. Winfield replied honestly. "Sometimes sight returns gradually over months or even years. Other times," he trailed off, "the important thing is to keep your eyes clean and protected." "I'll leave more salve and clean bandages." After the doctor left, Aurora sat motionless on the edge of the bed. The finality of her condition crashed over her. "I should have died with them," she whispered. She felt Beau kneel in front of her, his hands gently taking hers. "Don't say that," he said firmly. "Your parents would want you to live, Aurora, and live you will. I meant what I said. I'll be your eyes for as long as you need." "Why would you saddle yourself with a blind woman?" she asked bitterly. "Because I've seen your strength," he replied simply. "You survived what would have killed most folks. That kind of courage deserves a chance." The following weeks settled into a routine. Beau taught Aurora how to cook without sight, guiding her hands as she learned to measure ingredients by feel rather than sight. He described every task as they worked, from churning butter to mending clothes. "The needle is threaded," he explained, placing it in her hand. Feel along the fabric with your left hand, and when you find the tear, push the needle through from the back side. Aurora pricked her fingers countless times, but gradually her other senses sharpened. She could hear the subtle change in the boil of a pot before it overflowed. She could smell when bread was perfectly baked. She learned to identify Beau's footsteps, distinguishing them from any other sound. One evening as they sat by the fire, Aurora realized she hadn't thought about her loss in hours. Instead, she'd been focused on the story Beau was telling about his days driving cattle up from Texas. "What do you look like?" she asked suddenly, interrupting his tale. Beau chuckled. "Nothing special to look at, I'm afraid. Describe yourself to me," she insisted. "I want to picture you in my mind." He cleared his throat awkwardly. "Well, I'm tall, about 6'2", lean build from years in the saddle, dark brown hair that's usually too long because I forget to cut it. Brown eyes. Got a scar along my jaw from a horse that didn't appreciate being broken. My hands are rough from rope and reins. Ma always said I had a nice smile, but I think she was partial." Aurora smiled. "May I?" she asked, raising her hand slightly. Understanding her meaning, Beau leaned forward. "Go ahead." With gentle fingers, Aurora traced the contours of his face. She felt the strong line of his jaw, the slight bump in his nose where it had been broken once, the crinkles at the corners of his eyes. Her fingers brushed across his lips, which parted slightly at her touch. His breath was warm against her skin, and she felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. "You were wrong," she said softly. "You are special to look at." Beau's heart beat faster beneath her palm. For a moment, neither spoke, the air between them charged with unspoken feelings. The spell was broken by a distant rumble of thunder. Beau cleared his throat and moved back slightly. "Storm's coming. Best check that the horses are secure in the corral." As autumn deepened, Aurora's confidence grew. She could prepare meals, tend to the cabin, and even help with simpler ranch tasks. Beau was constantly at her side, describing everything around them, being her eyes as promised. Sometimes his voice would catch when he described a particularly beautiful sunset or the way moonlight silvered the landscape, and Aurora felt a curious warmth spread through her at those moments. One morning, Aurora was kneading bread dough when a knock at the door startled her. "Sheriff Davis," Beau greeted, opening the door. "What brings you out this way?" "Heard you had Miss Zimmerman staying with you," the sheriff replied. "Got some news she should hear." Aurora wiped her hands on her apron, her heart racing. "What is it, Sheriff?" "They caught one of Caldwell's men, fella named Tucker. Got drunk in town and started bragging about burning out the Zimmerman place. He's in custody, awaiting trial." Aurora's hands trembled. "And Caldwell? No direct evidence linking him to the attack yet," Sheriff Davis admitted. "Tucker's scared to implicate him directly, but it's a start." After the sheriff left, Aurora stood frozen, memories of that terrible night washing over her. "I need to testify," she said firmly. "I need to make sure they pay for what they did to my family." "You will," Beau assured her. "But Tucker's trial isn't for another month. We have time to prepare." The prospect of justice stirred something in Aurora that had been dormant since the attack, a fierce determination. "Will you help me learn the way to town? I need to be able to move confidently when I testify." "Of course," Beau replied. "We'll start tomorrow." True to his word, the next morning Beau helped Aurora mount his gentle mare, Daisy. With one arm securely around her waist, he guided the horse slowly down the trail toward town, describing every landmark along the way. "There's a lightning-struck pine on the right," he narrated. "About 30 paces ahead, the trail dips down toward the creek. You can hear it running now. We'll cross at the shallow ford." Each day they ventured a little farther, Aurora committing the sounds and smells of the journey to memory. The musty scent of fallen leaves, the babbling of the creek, The creak of a particular bridge all became guideposts in her dark world. As they worked together, something shifted between them. Aurora became increasingly aware of Beau's presence, the timbre of his voice, the strength in his hands as he helped her, the clean scent of soap and leather that accompanied him. For his part, Beau's descriptions grew more poetic, as though seeing the world through her ears had awakened a new appreciation in him. "The aspens are gold against the blue sky today," he told her as they rested by the creek. "Not the yellow gold of coins, but the warm gold of honey held up to sunlight. And the mountains in the distance look like they've been painted with watercolors, layers of blue and purple fading into each other." "You have a gift for words," Aurora observed, smiling in his direction. "Were you always this eloquent, or is it just for my benefit?" Beau laughed softly. "Never had much use for fancy talk before, but seeing things through your ears makes me notice details I used to overlook." "I'm glad," Aurora said sincerely. "You make me feel like I can still see the beauty in the world." They fell silent, listening to the creek's gentle murmur. Aurora felt Beau shift beside her, sensed him leaning closer. Her breath caught as his fingers lightly touched her cheek. "Aurora," he said, his voice lower than usual. The crack of a rifle split the air, and Beau tackled Aurora to the ground. "Stay down," he ordered, shielding her body with his own. Another shot whistled overhead, splintering bark from a nearby tree. Beau drew his revolver, firing back toward the source of the shots. "What's happening?" Aurora gasped, heart pounding. "Someone's shooting at us from the ridge," Beau replied grimly. "Likely Caldwell's men heard you're planning to testify." 3 more shots rang out in rapid succession. Beau returned fire, then suddenly grunted in pain. "Beau!" Aurora reached for him frantically. "Are you hit?" "Just grazed my shoulder," he said, his voice tight. "We need to move. The horses scattered. Can you crawl with me toward the creek bed? It'll give us some cover." Terrified but determined, Aurora followed Beau's instructions, crawling painfully over rocks and fallen branches until they reached the shallow depression of the creek bed. The shooting had stopped, but Beau remained tense beside her. "I think they're circling around," he whispered. "We need to get back to the cabin." "How?" Aurora asked. "I can't run through the woods blind, and you're injured." "I'll guide you," Beau insisted. "We'll move from cover to cover. Just trust me and stay close." What followed was a harrowing journey through the forest. Beau led Aurora from tree to tree, pausing to listen for pursuers, occasionally firing his revolver to keep their attackers at bay. Despite his injury, his arm remained steady around her waist, his voice calm in her ear as he guided her over fallen logs and around thickets. By the time they reached the cabin, both were exhausted. Aurora helped Beau clean and bandage his wound, her fingers working carefully over the torn flesh. "Why would you risk your life for me?" she asked, securing the bandage with a knot. "You really need to ask that," Beau replied softly. Aurora's hand stilled on his shoulder. "Yes," she whispered. "I do." Beau's hand came up to cover hers. "Because in these past weeks you've become everything to me, Aurora. Your courage, your determination, the way you face each day despite everything you've lost. I've never known anyone like you." Tears welled behind Aurora's useless eyes. "I thought it was just pity." "Never pity," Beau said firmly. "Admiration, respect." His voice softened. "Love." Aurora's heart soared, but fear quickly tempered her joy. "Caldwell won't stop. Not as long as I can testify against his men. I'm putting you in danger by staying here." "Then we'll face the danger together," Beau said. "Tomorrow we'll ride to town and talk to the sheriff. It's time to end Caldwell's reign of terror in this valley." The next morning they set out for town, Beau's arm still in a makeshift sling, but his determination unwavering. Aurora rode behind him on his second horse, her arms wrapped tightly around his waist. The tension of possible ambush made the journey seem interminable, but they arrived in Red Rock without incident. Sheriff Davis listened gravely to their account of the attack. "This confirms what I've been hearing," he said. "Caldwell's getting desperate. One of his men turned up dead this morning, shot in the back. I reckon he was the one who failed to silence you two yesterday." "Caldwell's cleaning house," Beau observed grimly. "Looks that way," the sheriff agreed. "Miss Zimmerman, I think it's best if you stay in town until the trial. There's rooms above the general store where you'll be safe." "No," Aurora said firmly. "I won't hide, and I won't be separated from Beau." After much discussion, a plan was formed. The sheriff would spread word that Aurora had been moved to the county seat for protection. Meanwhile, she and Beau would return to his cabin, accompanied by 2 deputies who would remain as guards until the trial. As they prepared to leave the sheriff's office, Aurora overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. "Caldwell's at the saloon right now," a deputy reported, "drinking and boasting that no blind girl's testimony will stand up in court." Aurora's spine stiffened. Without warning, she turned and walked determinedly toward the door. "Aurora, wait," Beau called, hurrying after her. But Aurora was already making her way down the boardwalk, her hand trailing along the storefronts to guide her. Though she'd only been to town once since losing her sight, she remembered the layout well enough to know the saloon was just a few buildings down. She pushed through the batwing doors, the sudden noise and smoky atmosphere momentarily disorienting her. The room fell silent as patrons noticed the blindfolded woman standing in the doorway. "Which one of you is Caldwell?" she demanded, her voice carrying across the silent room. "Well, well," came a smooth voice from her right. "The blind girl's got some spirit. I'm right here, darlin'." Aurora turned toward the voice. "You killed my parents, burned my home, took my sight, but you didn't take my voice and you won't silence me." Laughter met her declaration. "And what exactly do you plan to do about it? You can't even see to find me." Beau appeared at Aurora's side, his hand gently taking her elbow. "She doesn't need to see you, Caldwell. The law will find you just fine." "The law?" Caldwell scoffed. "I am the law in this valley. No judge is going to take the word of a blind girl over a respected rancher." "Then he'll take the word of your own men," Sheriff Davis said, stepping into the saloon with several deputies. "Tucker's talking now, and we found the man you killed for failing to silence Miss Zimmerman. The bullet matches your fancy silver-handled pistol." The atmosphere in the saloon shifted instantly. Caldwell's voice lost its smugness. "You've got nothing but circumstantial evidence." "We have enough," the sheriff replied. "Jacob Caldwell, you're under arrest for the murder of Henry and Martha Zimmerman, attempted murder of Aurora Zimmerman, and a dozen other charges were still tallying." As the deputies moved to arrest Caldwell, he lunged suddenly toward Aurora, a hidden derringer appearing in his hand. "If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me, girl." Several things happened at once. Beau shoved Aurora aside. A shot rang out. Men shouted. Aurora screamed Beau's name as she fell to the floor. More shots followed in quick succession. Then hands were helping her up Beau's hands. "I'm all right," he assured her breathlessly. "Caldwell missed us both. The sheriff got him." Aurora clung to Beau, her body trembling with relief and lingering fear. Over the next hour, the saloon transformed into an impromptu courthouse as statements were taken and witnesses came forward. With Caldwell dead and his intimidation ended, ranchers and farmers alike stepped up to testify about his reign of terror. "It's over," Beau told Aurora as they finally left the saloon. "Caldwell's men are being rounded up. You'll have justice for your parents." Aurora nodded, suddenly exhausted. "Take me home, Beau." "To the cabin?" he asked. "Wherever you are," she replied simply. "That's my home now." The weeks leading up to the formal trial passed peacefully. With Caldwell gone, his empire quickly crumbled. His men either fled the territory or turned on each other for leniency. Justice was being served, one indictment at a time. Aurora and Beau settled into a rhythm at the cabin, their bond deepening with each passing day. On clear evenings, they would sit on the porch as Beau described the stars and told stories of the constellations. During the day, he continued to be her eyes, narrating the world around them with increasing poetry and perception. "The first snow fell last night," he told her one morning in late November. "Just a dusting, but it transformed everything. The pine branches look like they've been decorated with powdered sugar, and rabbit tracks crisscross the yard like delicate stitching on white fabric." Aurora smiled, leaning into his embrace. "You know, sometimes I think I see more clearly through your eyes than I ever did with my own." Beau kissed the top of her head. "I've been thinking, your family's land is still yours, the deed's in your name. We could rebuild in the spring, make it ours." Aurora turned in his arms. "Are you asking me something, Beau Vaughn?" Even without sight, she could sense his nervousness in the way he shifted his weight. "I suppose I am, Miss Zimmerman. I'm asking if you'd consider making me the happiest man in Wyoming Territory by becoming my wife." Joy burst through Aurora like sunshine through clouds. "Yes," she whispered, reaching up to touch his face. "1,000 times yes." Beau's lips found hers in a tender kiss that quickly deepened, expressing all the love and promise that words couldn't convey. The day before Christmas, as they sat by the fire after supper, Aurora experienced something strange. A faint glow seemed to penetrate the darkness that had been her constant companion for months. "Beau," she said hesitantly, "is the fire especially bright tonight?" "Not particularly," he replied. "Why do you ask?" Aurora's heart began to race. I think I can see light, just the vaguest impression, but something's different." Beau was immediately at her side. "Can you see my hand?" he asked, waving it slowly before her. "No, not shapes," she clarified. "Just a difference between light and darkness. The fire is a warm glow against the black." Beau enveloped her in his arms. "It's a start, Aurora. It's a start." The next morning they rode into town to see Dr. Winfield. After a thorough examination, the doctor confirmed what they'd begun to hope. "Your eyes are healing," he said cautiously. "I can't promise full vision will return, but this is a very encouraging sign. The human body has remarkable healing capabilities, especially in someone young and healthy like yourself." As winter gave way to spring, Aurora's vision continued to improve incrementally. Shapes emerged from the darkness, blurry and indistinct at first, but gradually gaining definition. Colors returned like old friends, though muted compared to her memories. On the first truly warm day of April, Beau took Aurora to her family's land. They stood hand in hand before the graves he had dug for her parents, now marked with proper headstones. "They would be proud of you," Beau said softly. "Of your courage, your resilience." Aurora nodded, tears shining in her healing eyes. She could make out the shape of the stone markers now, and beyond them, the outline of the new cabin Beau had begun building with help from neighbors. "I wish they could have known you," she replied. "They would have loved you as I do." They were married the following month in a simple ceremony attended by the entire community. Aurora wore a cream-colored dress with blue ribbons that matched the forget-me-nots Beau had picked for her bouquet. Though her vision remained imperfect, she would always struggle with fine details and distance. She could see Beau's face as they exchanged their vows, and that was all that mattered. As summer bloomed across the valley, Aurora and Beau moved into their newly completed cabin. It stood on the same spot as her family's original home, But Beau had made some improvements: larger windows to let in more light, a covered porch that wrapped around 3 sides, and a second bedroom for the future, as he put it with a meaningful smile. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset paint the sky in colors Aurora could now appreciate again, she leaned her head against Beau's shoulder. "You kept your promise," she said softly. "You were my eyes until I could see again." Beau kissed her temple. "And I'd do it all over again." "My sight isn't perfect," Aurora reminded him. "I still need your eyes sometimes. And you'll have them always," Beau promised. "But you know, I think we both see more clearly now than we ever did before." Aurora nodded, understanding the deeper truth in his words. Her blindness had taught her to perceive the world differently, to value the beauty in sounds and textures, to recognize the poetry in everyday moments. And it had led her to Beau, a man whose kindness and strength had become the foundation of her new life. As darkness settled around them, the stars appeared one by one in the vast Wyoming sky. Aurora could see their faint twinkle now, like distant beacons in the night. But more precious than this restored vision was the knowledge that whatever darkness might come in the future, they would face it together, seeing each other clearly, with eyes and hearts wide open.